sorry.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the No Issues CodeSweb podcast. I'm Derek Swebby, joined by Cody Codeman, Mr. Pre-Registered Frame.
Yeah, so I'm pre-reg at Frame. I feel like one of a big group of people that is going to show up to a cool tournament. So, um, if you haven't regged, maybe you should. Maybe that's why we're doing this podcast, is we're just trying to shill for Frame.
Maybe the astute viewers at home were able to suss out why Roxy posted a Frame 17 Star GG link. But yeah, you should check that out. Definitely. But what we're here to talk about primarily is a little bit of Cruise League. We're going to talk about storylines. We're gonna check how all the weeks went, and then we're gonna take a look at playoffs.
Okay, let me turn up my volume a little bit. Not without tough technical difficulties.
Oh yeah, we'll make it work.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm here.
Welcome. Yeah. So, Cody, do you have any thoughts on the draft? How the draft went? Any broad strokes, winners and losers, as a post mortem for how this is looking?
Yes, that's a good point. I think a good way to look at this is like before going into the season, who did we think had kind of like the best lineups, and then the season having gone by, obviously we've seen who's come out on top, but how that shifted. I think for me, I mean, obviously a little bit partial to my team, so
For sure.
even though we didn't make the playoffs, I still believe in my people. So aside from them, I think when I looked at this the first time, um, it was I felt like the teams were a bit more even than season one. I think season one there was a lot of a little bit of unknowns going into the season in terms of like player skill. Also, people just the first UCL season that kind of brought people together, and that was kind of like the test bed for that. So the teams were a little bit easier to see, like delineate like who maybe had the best teams. I think actually the biggest surprise team for me was Lumore's team. Um, it was interesting. I felt like during the draft, it was kind of just like, homey vibes. That's how the draft, that's how Lumore's drafting, but ended up, one of the best teams in the league. So I thought that was interesting. Um, I thought actually your team and Gio's team were both well thought out and solid. Um, you know, I'm not sure you went into it. Maybe you can tell me, but I'm not sure you went into it thinking you were going to draft all floaties, but um, it ended up working out pretty well. But also, I thought Geo's was pretty well thought out, and I'm interested to see their team in the playoffs.
Absolutely, and I think with what you were talking about with the Legion of Loom, I personally was pretty surprised, peace and love, that Lucas took Nick first. I think that Nick is obviously a very good player. I thought he was going to be a very early round 2 pick, but I think that part of the value in the Legion of Loom is just like the sheer homie factor amongst the entire crew as a whole. Plus, there are a bunch of good players. There's a bunch of really good players on the team. Turns out when you are number one in the league for most of the season, then you got to have pretty good players. I agree with you as well that I think Geo's team, Flower City Flow State, also probably number one power rankings for best name in the league. That's my vote. It's partially Team Rochester, but also we got little splashes with Young Love coming in from from out of town. But definitely a very, very strong team. I think Cody, I think your team also has a really, really strong top brass. And obviously you gotta give it up. Blukey getting J Boss Skitter as your top 4 with Blukey. Very, very devastating. The Team Pig Whistle, also in contention for number 1 in homie vibes. Oh, there's this was a really good draft all around, uh, especially compared to last season, as you say. There's more data points. We got to see a lot of people play over the last season, and now we kind of had better expectations of what things were going to look like moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, the way things kind of shook out, which we'll get into, but um, I do think, even though, some teams kind of in terms of record wise, fell short. I don't think there's any. I don't really think there's any team that is like, you know, super. I don't think the scale is so large between teams that a couple things went certain teams' ways. They could have made the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, um, so yeah, I think it was a good draft overall.
Yeah, I think there were no dogs in this race. I think everybody was definitely a threat, and you had to bring your best if you wanted to be able to win. You had to focus up.
Okay. Was that a shot? Did I catch on something there?
Oh, I don't think so. Anything,
Okay.
not intentionally, not
Okay.
intentionally. But do you
All
want to
right.
start? Do you want to take a look at the next weeks here, Cody?
I do.
Let's dig in.
Okay. So
So
yeah.
let's
So
go ahead, Cody.
yeah.
Take
So
us away.
week one. Um. Yeah. I think this was obviously interesting. I think everyone's coming out the gate swinging. I mean, just looking at this, everyone's pretty much sending in mostly their top players. I mean, I only see like maybe Broly's not in here. Um. Missing maybe missing SRM, but by and large like everyone is coming in hot. um so um it looks like the way it turned out. um I think maybe you can speak more on this, but I know your team kind of got like a little bit of a slow start.
Hmm.
uh and I'm kind of curious, your perspective after this first week. What was going through your team's mind?
Oh well, I mean, in the first week we ran nearly our top five. But I just like most other teams, we had a lot to prove. We wanted to start off strong, and I think that we all were a little unprepared uh, for Jake Ghost Chunks. He kind of really popped off in our match, taking seven, uh, and it looked really, really strong. We kind of had to figure out our vibe as a crew, figure out our methodology into every single week. But also, very interestingly, every single match, bar one, uh, had very, very close stock counts, only within 2 or 3 stocks. Kind of the script writers from last season, where almost every single crew battle ended up in the last couple of stocks, mostly at play here. Aside from Legion really kind of just popping off uh, in their match against the Mountaintop.
Yeah. And I think this was, if we were to give a shout out for this week, I think definitely Legion. Legion didn't play in season one. And I think this was kind of, you know, this kind of put Team Cats on the map saying, hey, Legion's here. You're going to have to contend with this. So I think that was a really good start from their team. Um, and I think, uh, for my team's sake, I remember just personally, this was actually my worst week personally. Was week one. I remember, I think I anchored and wasn't able to take it home. But as similarly to y'all's team, like definitely trying to suss out the vibes. How we want to move forward. So
Also, speaking to your point of newcomers, definitely a shout out to JBH Max. Truly, like a lot of upstate didn't really know much about this guy. They knew he was good. They knew he was from out of region with Lumor, but nobody really knew what he had. And then he came out strong with a quick nine,
yeah.
quick nine in week one.
Actually, if we're just kind of looking at this, who took the most stocks, it's like mostly newcomers. I mean, it's like Legion, JBH Max, Lumor obviously played, but Cogs,
Hmm.
Cogs is someone I knew Cogs would show up. I know a lot of people don't know Cogs, um, but I had no doubt. I really wanted Cogs on my team, but I knew he wouldn't fall to me. So just because we're homies, but
For
um,
sure.
but yeah, I knew Cogs was going to show up big. So I kind of, hindsight's 2020. You can kind of see the buddings of a good team here.
There's a lot of looking back at these couple of weeks. Really, just makes me think about how things would be different if only a few picks changed. Like what would have happened if say Monk didn't take All Right and took somebody else really really early, like things, and then like the other crew would be down a different player. It would lead to a lot of different dynamics, even with just a couple minor changes.
Yeah. No, that totally changed the whole dynamic. I mean, if All Right wasn't picked second, there were some rumblings about Geo having an all Falco team,
Mm.
things like that. So it's pretty wild to think, just that one pick, kind of turned the tides. But yeah, this was overall, pretty close week. I think everyone, Mountaintop had a rough showing the first week, but by and large, everyone kind of showed up pretty tough here.
Definitely, everyone kind of leading their top five. But yeah, let's take a look at the next week, week two. I think here is where we start to see a couple of breakaways as far as just stock differential. Legion of Loom taking their second dub with a 8 stock lead over what was kind of perceived to be one of the top teams in the league in the first couple of weeks. Flower City Flow State. Venus taking 8, like nothing to sneeze at there. Going through Conceit, Darneld, and Adamant, all by herself. Spacious Cow kind of wrapping up the caboose. Definitely very strong. Also, we see B Jump Bloopers um, being defeated by Team Cats by five stocks. Again, another Legion carry. This puts him at, like, despite it being 2 carries over 2 weeks, he's got enough. He's got enough points for 3.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, again, like if we're gonna give a shout out here, I mean, just looking at the stocks, I mean, Venus like really showed up here, um, and I think it's really tough when if you have a peach on your team and they go over expected, it's just gonna be rough. I mean, it can be a really volatile thing going up against a peach, especially in crews, and if they're going over expected, I think that's kind of where you're seeing like this big victory. Um, but yeah, I think the storyline for me coming out of this week was like it felt like Team Cats like had you could feel the momentum, like it was just this steamrolling, and it kind of snowballed into the following weeks. But I feel like here is where you could start to feel it a little bit. It's like you have to contend with like two really good species. So I think they had a good dynamic at this point. Um, and then a couple of really close matches, Pig Whistle and Floaties. Looks like y'all took it here, even without you playing. So if you want to talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit.
big shout outs there, Mr. Lacrom Jers. Really, this was his first foray into any sort of crew battling through UCL, and took out Jack Totem straight up in a 4-for-4. A lot of us, Lacrom was the very last pick in the league, and I think it's mostly just a not enough information sort of data point. Uh, and boy, was I surprised when I got to watch Lacrom Jers take out Jack Totem in Roy Falco. Definitely a sight for me. And also, of course, Miss Erica Lane making a
Yes.
clean carry. Other carries this week of note, I think Basics had a really strong showing, taking 4 off of America and then taking 2 off of JBH Max. Like in terms of just value uh, across like expected stocks, definitely a very strong contender for number 1 that week.
Yeah, and I also just, I also want to shout out True. Like two really good back-to-back weeks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Started was the starter in both, and then did really well. So I think True kind of put himself on the map in the first 2 weeks here. Uh,
I believe, another newcomer to UCL
yes.
in
Um,
season 2.
Shout outs to True Customs. If you go to a major, any tournament, um, you're gonna get the best swag from True. So
So
uh,
true.
yes.
Shall we take a look at week 3?
We should.
I like to call this week week Darnell, DLS. This is where we really watched him pop off for the first time in Cruise, taking a swift 8 uh, off of going through Legion, Ronde, and Swoggles before finally getting eliminated with 8. This kind of really put him on the map as far as, everybody kind of knew about him. Mr. He kind of wrapped himself as Mr. What do they call him? Intangibles. But it turns out he has some very tangible qualities as well, especially when it comes to being sick with it on the sticks.
Yeah, and I mean, quite the cursed team, like 3 Falcos and a Pikachu and a Sheik. But hey, it worked out. Um, and yeah, I agree with your sentiment here. So it looks like you had a very close match with B Jump Bloopers, and actually um, a
Ringer.
obese police showed up.
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Fat Cop.
Yes.
In the 11th hour, we had a last minute person who couldn't attend, and Fat Cop came in, took even more than quota, taking 5, almost carrying. And you know what? It was almost a difference maker. Shoutouts to Fat Cop there. Also Skitter, really really clean, going straight through Kusa and then uh, taking a couple off a Fat Cop before moving on. Lopo also big newcomer, not a big data point for a lot of the upstate players in the league, but Lopo taking a good 6 in Pig Whistle versus Legion of Loom.
Yeah, and not to call out the elephant in the room, but this was the first of 2 sort of misfires for Poseidon's Panthers. This
Mm,
was actually Lights Out's first victory. I remember all of us were a little there was a little bit of sour taste in our mouth, like, oh, this is our first victory,
yeah,
um, you know. But I think it also kind of helped us like take the perspective of like, hey, a win's a win. Like, we don't need to worry about other teams. We just need to worry about ourselves. So,
yeah. So what do you think? What was going through your mind as far as how to push forward with maintaining momentum after that sort of event happens?
yeah. So, the kind of thing I tried to instill in our team was that, hey, we've been the first 2 weeks were very close. We cleaned up some things. We worked on a lot of things, and we were actually in a good position. Heading into like me versus Jank in the end. So, who knows how it would have turned out. Um, but the thing is, like, um, you kind of got to keep your head down, keep your head to keep grinding away, because you know it's just the work you put in is the most important thing. So we just tried to kind of be like, hey, whatever, we got to win. We're still gonna keep pushing, just like we would any other week for the next week. So that was the perspective on our part.
Really. And also, this, I believe, was this the same week where we had Conceit not show up against Flower City Flow State and Team Cats, with the kind of heartbreaker, Darnell taking 8, and then Adamant getting 4-stock by Swoggles, thinking that, oh, it'll be enough. Surely Conceit will just be able to take 1, and then Conceit didn't show up.
Yeah.
Two back to back. I believe they're on the same night, no less.
Yes. We'll call this the week 3 tragedy.
That's right.
So it is what it is. But good ups on your team for recognizing, hey, we need another player. We got Fat Cop show up. So
It may have been a dark week and a dark day for UCL, but I think week 4, uh, I think it was all lights out. I think that you guys had a really, really strong showing going into week 4, playing against Oops All Floaties. We had Nikita making his first appearance and taking a respectable 4. I remember my big impression off of this one. I think Spades did very, very well. Into me in particular with how rough that matchup is. Uh, almost like taking three of mine, going 1 for 1 in that matchup. Really, really atrocious. And Nikita beating True straight up as the leads.
Yeah.
Really, really good showing. This
Yeah.
was also our first showing for Amerks, who I think Amerks had some rough some rough goes and rough matchups going into a lot of these matches over the course of the league, and I think that he really proved himself as a strong player in despite all of that, because we sent him in against Spades, and if I don't know if you know this about Amerks, as of 4 weeks before this, he was a Falco player and decided to make the switch upon a little bit before being recruited to Oops All Floaties. So this is a fresh puff going into a very very strong player like Spades.
Yeah. Yeah. This was definitely a weird, like, looking back, maybe the weirdest match so far. I mean, so we, obviously we sent in, our top five. Um, I think there was a little bit of on your side, you wanted a little bit of foreshadowing. You wanted to come back and prove yourself the next time. Um, but it was just a weird, it was weird. Like you said, like Spades kind of showed up. I think this is where Spades kind of really put himself on the map here. Um, and
For
you know,
anybody who didn't already know about
yes.
where Spades was on the map.
Yes. But at this point, our team now we're 2-2, and feeling pretty good. We got some momentum. And I think, going back to what you asked from the last week, how we kind of just kept our head down, that helped us with this week, for sure. Because we kind of were able to shut out all the noise, and just take it home. Um, but yeah,
Looking at the other matches, I'm noticing a trend among the Legion of Looms victories that these stock differentials are starting to get a little out of hand. I think by this week in the league, they're like nearing plus like 14 or 15 stocks, because I believe they're 4-0 at this point. Loomer and CBD both taking 8. Devastating. Devastating. Also, Ethan took a nice 8, going through Ash Gary's last stock, all of Jet Set Ratio, and even a couple into Oculus.
yeah. So, like, I mean, at this point, I think it's hard to not notice, like, Lumor is just kind of carrying. I mean, it's just every week is just, taking out at least at least two players. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
so
And
yeah.
then you have other strong players like Cog, CBD, Nick Prime, Boyle, and Venus on your top end to like drop some hammers.
Yeah. And a little bit of propaganda, everyone was saying Team Cat's only sending in their top players. It looks like they were able to take this match without Legion or AV. So,
Really good stuff by the two Jigglypuff players, Slendermax, SRM 13. Is that this couldn't possibly be the first? Is this wouldn't be the first SRM appearance this league, is it? Because I
it
know
might have
that there was the jail arc. He may have played in week 1, but definitely one of the earlier appearances from Marcus here.
Yeah, and I actually think for this week, I think if I remember correctly, um, this was like Slender Max got a few rests here, and that was like huge for their team.
Mhm.
So shout out to Slender Max, Capital Region, shout out. So
Also,
uh,
Logan making a decent showing here, taking 3. He had to play into Slendermax to kind of close this one out. Ended up losing, but that matchup can be a little difficult, especially if it's not one that you've practiced a lot. Also, it appears that despite the propaganda, both Cats and Pigwas were both not leading their top 2. Looks like a
yeah.
little bit of a, you know, balancing the rosters in that week for them.
Yeah, I think this is a good question for you. I think at this point, because obviously, we played each other this week and we didn't tell each other our lineups.
Mhm.
What was your like throughout the season? Like, was it? Did you typically try to set a lineup, or was it depending on the team you're playing? Um,
I think I think generally I preferred to balance rosters across most of the weeks, but I will be honest that especially once we got like maybe 6 or 7 weeks in, once we really started to establish who were going to be the heavy hitters, and who was performing at the top of the leagues, uh, we were kind of picking and choosing when we were doing full blinds. But aside from that, we were generally matching rosters.
Yeah. So I guess last thing here, we're at this point we're about a fourth of the way through, a third of the way through. At this point, who do you think like which teams are standing out the most to you?
Well, I mean, number one, Legion of Loom is looking incredibly strong. I think at this point in the league, pretty much all of what am I? Am I in the Roxy division? I'm pretty sure all of the Roxy division, uh, all of whatever division Oafs were in was like basically 2-2, while there was a lot more kind of striation among uh, the Legion of Loom led division. Legion of Loom obviously coming out really really strong. I think Flower City Flow State also looking very powerful into this into these couple of weeks. Like this is where the divide was happening amongst the divisions, where it looked like one division was starting to kind of pull away, while another was kind of getting left in the dust. The Matt division over the Roxy division.
Yeah, and I actually think this was the one week that lights out. We were we were number one in our division. So
And you love to see it.
I love to see it. Um, but yeah, shout outs to striation. Great word.
So true.
Nice job
And
there.
let's striate into week 5 as well. Why don't we say?
All right,
So
so
let's take a look here. So here another clean 6-6 from Codeman and Spades, but actually not quite enough. What's going on in your brain when you have two carries, uh, and still it's not quite enough to push over the finish line?
yeah, this was a tough week. I mean, I think so. I remember, I believe this was actually maybe not. I think it was a little bit later, but um, yeah, I mean, I know we like showed up really well. It's just one of those things where, it came down to the wire. We weren't able to close it out. This was if you remember, the match where I went into Ethan with one stock, uh, into Ethan's four stocks. Was almost able to pull it out, and I think Gio had a heart attack. But lucky for him, the team won. Um, but I think this actually, to give you my thoughts, I think we still felt pretty confident after this. There were a couple of things that didn't go our way, but I think for me personally, this gave me a lot of confidence as an anchor, because I honestly didn't expect to be able to almost take it home, especially after I believe Conceit kind of took three of my stocks. Um, so it was a weird kind of dynamic. I kind of you know faltered a little bit and then almost just drove it home. So it was a little bit of a confidence boost for me personally. But I don't think we were sweating too hard after this. We were obviously disappointed with the loss, but there were a lot of good lessons to take away here.
Some big highlights across the board for this week. Uh, notice what number is that beside Legion's name in the top left corner there. I think that may be the lowest performance from Legion, who's otherwise very very powerful across the whole league, who got beat by Boba. Boba just taking him out solo after getting through two of after going through all of SRM stocks, only losing two, and then losing one stock to Legion, taking full four. This is my money for the best performance in the league, taking into consideration like pick values. Absolutely incredible. And then looking down is our first, it may be our first double digit stock count, taken from week one Legion, from the booth. But another double digit nonetheless. Zach taking 10, and then almost not being enough. With Monk taking 8, pretty much back to back. This was also one of the first times that I can recall that Zach and Monk played each other. With astute viewers knowing that they've played each other a couple of times over the past couple of weeks. Very, very weird matchup, but one that's kind of been a good rivalry in Upstate. Also, we got to shout out Wary Dan.
Yeah, I was just gonna say shout out to Wary Dan.
Shout outs to
A
Wary Dan.
little bit of controversy, but hey,
Listen, man, all I'm saying, I asked Matt who should I pick if Amerks can't show up, and Matt told me just pick Wary Dan. But and it turns out, yes, everybody wary. Dan may be wary, but everybody else should have been a little bit more so.
yes, everyone should be wary of Dan. And I believe we tried to for the 10 stock and above, we tried to coin that as a decimation.
Ooh,
But it didn't quite catch on, but maybe in the future. But so far we have 2 decimations. We have Legion and Zach here. Unfortunately, this was pretty tragic. Mountaintop was able to take it, but yeah. So at this point, you know, I believe is this Legion of Loom's first loss?
I believe this is the first loss. This was us running. We were running, I believe. Does that come out to be bottom 5 versus bottom 5?
Yes.
And then we had. But we also had Wary Dan as a kind of sub. So I think we ran 3 and bottom 4.
Yeah.
Uh,
And was
but
this also Cat's first loss, maybe?
this may have been. This was it definitely is one of their only losses. I think that they may have lost beforehand because I think that Legion of Loom was pretty much number one, at least by stock differential across the whole league. But this is definitely a surprising deficit as far as losses go, and it was their first loss, in fact. But let's take it on to week 6 as well. And we'll see what goes on in here. Here another 7 from Boba Kanoosh, really kind of proving himself as he's PR'd in Rochester, which is a pretty good region by my book. So it turns out you got to be pretty good to make that list. We see a Ghost Chunk 6, a Lumor 6, which honestly a Lumor 6. Maybe we take that as a dub in some places. If Lumor only takes 6.
Well, listen, CBD showed up big time. I mean, I'm just trying to glance over the board. I think the only one, I mean, Cowbell took 8, big performance by Cowbell's team. And then yourself with the JV decimation. So
JV.
yes. So yeah, I mean, I remember, from Lights Out perspective, this was definitely our probably least prepared we've gone into a match. The takeaway was that we just did not prepare. We didn't give us like we found out that we did best when we made a solid game plan, came up with a lot of strategies, and we just didn't do it this time, and it showed on the scoreboard. So that was a big takeaway. But yeah, it's looking like Pig Whistle got a really big win here, and then also it's looking like your team is starting to make a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, over the first 4, we started off 1-3, and then from that point we did not lose again. So starting on week 5, there are no more L's being put on the Oaths score sheet.
Yeah. So what can you say? What can you say is like the sort of big shift?
I think really we all kind of just buckled down in what we expected just from playing, like getting our mindsets right during the match and leading up to the match, what we expect, who we expect to be playing, and then making sure that we've all just kind of got each other's backs when we're in call together. Like I think that was the point where we finally started to feel like, I guess, kind of at home with it and feeling like we're in this sort of comfortable dynamic. And I think it showed. At least it showed in the numbers.
Yeah. And Flower City Flow State coming off of, the clutch win from last week against Lights Out. They have another clutch win. So, maybe foreshadowing for the playoffs, maybe they have a little bit of a clutch gene.
Certainly
So
could be.
certainly could. So, the preparation you do throughout the season will definitely lead into the playoffs. So,
And last point here, we see a 7 from Killer Robo, going against Flower City Flow State. Uh, Robo going through Darnell conceit and taking a little bit off the top from Young Love before moving on to Poseidon there. But really, generally, a pretty good week as far as matches were concerned. A lot of strong, a lot of strong carries, but also a lot of the matches looked pretty good.
yep. And Stallions kind of pulling out as well as a really strong team. I think they're starting to click at this point, about almost halfway through the season.
Let's take a look at week 7, where I see not one but 2 decimations. One in AV against Poseidon's Panthers, and one from Mr. Cody Codeman himself against Pig Whistle. What was
Yes.
how did your decimation go there, Cody?
Well, kind of going back to the couple weeks before where I had the confidence boost, anchoring. I think that really showed here. I mean, uh, you know, uh, I kind of had to sort of put the team on my back this week, and almost was able to pull it out at the end, um, but just not quite enough there. But I think again for me, this kind of helped lay out how we wanted to go about our game plan. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get Spades in here for this one, but kind of our general strategy was like we wanted to start with our heavy hitter and then you know um, kind of end with me here. So I think even though we lost, it was a good. It kind of helped us formulate how we wanted to go moving forward.
Definitely, and it looks like here, uh, there's a kind of a trend with these decimations, where it looks like these sort of come about from a top a top pick or captain going in to a mid roster player, and then not the other team maybe takes a gamble and tries not to send somebody too strong, and then instantly that momentum just continues in the favored player's direction. Uh, and then from there, it's just you're behind so much material that you gotta stem the bleeding a little bit. And at that point, it might be too late. But here, it actually turns out that both Olive and Cowbell taking 8 uh, was enough, despite the decimation.
Yep. Yeah, Cowbell. I mean, having both of them taking 8 is just almost feels impossible to be able to beat a team that has two players that take 8 stocks. Um, but we kept it close. And then shout outs to Cats. I mean, that's really impressive. They didn't even have to send in two players. I mean, that's pretty wild. So, um, and again, kind of want to shout out your team here. Stallions are kind of coming together, but was a close match. Any highlights here?
Highlights there, highlights there are Chic into Ice Climbers is probably my biggest highlight. My biggest highlight for that match.
Okay.
Just I think honestly, uh, I think I got a little bit lucky. I This is where I think having a character with a really strong second stage like Ice Climbers uh, makes them good in Cruise. And we played on Frozen Stadium for the entire league, and I just got 4 quick grabs on DPD. And listen, sometimes that's just enough, honestly, and it really needed to be, because we were behind, and Succulent really took 2 off of me in the end, and turned it from something where it's like, okay, I definitely am feeling ahead here to this might just be losable. Luigi being a pretty rough matchup for ice climbers.
Yep. But you were able to clutch it out. And it looks like actually Legion of Loom, Lumor is usually carrying, but actually Cogs gets the carry here. And again, not a surprise by me. I don't quite remember who Cogs played in this match. But
Well, I
uh,
can tell you, it was at the beginning he took 4 off a jet set ratio. He took 4 off of Broly, losing 2, and then he took 1 more off. He took and then it looked. I think that this may be a misreport, but then he lost to Ash Gary. Uh, so it went through 2 full players just by himself.
yeah, yeah. So shout outs to Cogs. And then again, Flower City Flow State pattern emerging here. They're keeping it close every time, but B Jump was able to take it. At this point, we're exactly like halfway through the season. I don't think anyone has it, at this point, any sort of uh, intel on like who's for sure going to make the playoffs, except for maybe Legion of Loom's team. And
At this point, I believe getting 7-0, at least it proved to be enough. If you get your 7th win, you were going to make it.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So exactly halfway point of the season. So we're going into week 8 now.
yeah, this is when people start to take it serious if they weren't already. And here again, now a couple of weeks ago we saw a Legion 1. Here we see a Legion 0, but this is for a different reason. On account of Marcus SRM taking a good 9, going through left Boba Kanoosh and a stock of Dominion before falling to the Mr. Poop check.
Yes. And it looks like just glancing over here, that's the most stocks taken this week by
Mm-hmm.
a single player. So we'll call this the SRM week. Yeah, so big shout outs to SRM. I know personally SRM's just really been on the grind, taking a lot of stocks in this match, but just getting a lot better overall. So um, and then if we just go to the next match, B Jump again keeping it close. They were able to beat Pig Whistle. Again, Flower City Flow State, 1 stock victory. Another clutch. Um, and do you happen to know what the last match was there for the?
Mountaintop versus Flower City Flow State. Well, that closed with Birdie versus Conceit, with Conceit just barely kind of clutching out that last finish there.
Yes.
Um, this was also where we saw Adamant taking 5, going through jet set ratio and a stock of Oculus before falling out here. This is a big kind of turning point. With Adamant being one of the later picks, I think second last, into taking 5, that's just an absolutely kind of insurmountable improvement. So really, really good stuff from them. Also, Poseidon taking 7 into the double ice climber roster. Nothing to sneeze at all.
Yes, especially, I mean, it kept it super close. Going in, I would have put money on your team just because of the matchup there, but yeah, I was able to keep it really close. I guess Jank, going into Gialla there, could have been a big thing, but you were able to pull it out. So, um, and I guess finally, I do want to shout out Lights Out. We were able to take down the top team going in to this week. And I said it all along to our team, but I really think we had what it takes to hang with every team, and we proved it here. I remember Casey, shout outs to Casey, put in a ton of work, made so many improvements throughout the season, and it showed here. I mean, Cogs at this point had been showing up really hard, and Casey was able to take a lot of stocks off of Cogs, and just set us up for a good position for our last match with Spades Lumor, and Spades was able to clutch it out. So, um, and if you remember, one of the highlights of this was lights out rib Falco F smash, the fully
Yeah.
charge. So shout outs to Rib. I'll never
I'm a lover of a full charge F smash.
yeah. I'll never forget that. Maybe a foreshadowing for a future podcast. Maybe we get a Sports Center plays of
Ooh,
the plays
wait
of
a
the
minute. Wait a minute.
so
While we're pondering that, let's look at week 9. And instantly with week 9, I see 9 stocks taken from Eduport into lights out. Going through True, going through Spades, and going through 3 of yours. Also, really, really, really strong stocks that are taken off of through Eduport there.
yeah, I think Eduport finally kind of showed up. Unfortunately for our team, but Eduport started to kick it into gear here. But yeah, strong showing from Porp. True getting a lot of good mileage here. Um, so yeah. Um, and let's see, do we have any other sort of
Yeah,
standouts here?
we've seen a nine from Jank, uh, and then a 10 from JBH Max, as well as an 8 from Young Love. Young Love, another player who I don't think we've mentioned much this podcast, but who really proved himself as a worthwhile high pick off of Flower City Flow State. I think he had a really, really good season. Taking some high value stocks, having the counter pick advantage and that value of having a bird and a race car driver, being able to pick and choose, highly valuable, especially with the way that Falcon has just some devastatingly strong matchups, and Falco can kind of invalidate some of the lower characters on the tier list.
Yeah. Yeah, so JBH gets a decimation of his own. Um, and Panthers, they were able to clutch it out versus Pig Whistle. They kind of had a tough season, but these clutch wins here kept them into sort of the very end. So shout outs to Jank here for a big 9 stock taken here. I know they really wanted to.
Going through Jack Totem and Cowbell, and then taking one off the top from Zach as the
Yeah.
lead, as a puff lead, which I don't think we've seen very often over the course of the season.
Yeah, I mean that's really impressive. Just considering the dynamic of Puff, you get a rest and it might be a stock taken. So that's really impressive to get through like, 2 players and a little bit extra. So your team taking down Cats, I think, Cats at the, kind of how we mentioned at the beginning of the season, Cats had like a ton of momentum. I think this may have been where the momentum started to shift a little bit because we start seeing some strong teams emerge here. Like you said, your team didn't lose the rest of the season. So yeah, Legion of Loom again clutching it out. Just one stock again, Flower City Flow State.
Normally, Flower City Flow State and Legion of Loom is a possible match that we may see in in the playoffs. So this is one to keep an eye out for, depending on how things shake out. It looked like they had a close match here in week 9. It may be a possibility moving forward into the playoffs
Yeah.
in the semifinals.
And it'll be interesting to see, in the playoffs whether Young Love, depending on the matchup, goes Falcon or Falco. So that'll be a really interesting dynamic, I think.
Certainly. And then moving forward to week 10, here we see another dark day in the same matchup, Poseidon's Panthers versus Lights Out. So
Yeah.
now, like this, honestly, this is tough as a winner as well as a loser. Because like I'm sure that Lights Out was really looking forward to having a good match, uh, into the the kind of fraudulent, or at least question mark of a win that happened before, and so to have it happen again, especially after a Killer Robo 7 going through Nathan Insert URL, KCTM 44 and Spades, and a stock off of Spades.
Yeah,
So,
it's interesting. I remember the rhetoric during this week, when this happened, everyone in the chat was like, this must suck for Lights Out, like, nobody wants to win this way. But actually, because we experienced it before against the same team, we had like no mercy. We were like, look, you did this the first time, you're doing it again. Like we just don't care. Like we'll take the win.
totally
So
fair.
So we felt good. I mean, I actually, I shout outs to Pig, coach for Lights Out. Did a lot of preparation that week actually for Jank as well. So I felt confident going in as the anchor against Jank there. Again, who knows how it would have shaken out, but we still felt really confident about our performance. So we felt good after this, regardless.
Right, absolutely. Uh, Also, I love that there's this sort of symmetry here in Stallions versus Flower City Flow State. Boba Kanoosh takes 7, taking 4 off of Ghost Chunks. Well, taking 2 off of Ghost Chunks, taking 4 off of Conceit, taking taking some off of Geo, and then Geo leverages that into taking 7 of his own immediately. So having that momentum shift of, oh my gosh, we just took 7, we're so far ahead, into that getting evened up and the evening up being just enough to clutch out a win. That's peak. That's what the script writers are here for. We're looking forward to that every week. And sometimes they really do deliver and they give us a little treat.
Yeah. And shout outs to I want to shout out AV here. Typically Legion is the one carrying here, but AV being the captain really put the team on her back, and was able to clutch out the mountaintop victory. So really good showing there.
Also, I got to point a little bit towards Erica Lane on Link. This was a
Yes.
this was a choice that we made because we were trying to balance rosters as best we could, but we only had 5 available, and so in order to do our best, we did a random character draw from Erica, and she picked Link. She picked Link from that, and that seemed like a fair enough.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's turns out, I don't know if you've seen her combo video. Then I think she had 19 or 20 characters show up in there, so she has a pretty strong full cast, uh, which definitely we were able to leverage to some value there.
Yeah. I actually learned that today. We had some cool Ganon DK matches.
Oh,
Um,
is that right? I would love to have seen some of those.
yeah.
But
Um,
let's also take a look at week 11, where we
yeah.
see some decimations here. I see a 12 from Spades. Spades going through Swaggles, AV, SRM, and then finally losing to Legion.
Yeah, absolutely huge from Spades. This is by far his best performance. You can see like the rest of the team, we only had to take 2 each. It
Hmm.
just looked really cool there. Um, but yeah, like on the other side though, I mean Legion almost had a decimation with the 9 there. So um, really needed those Spade stocks. He really put the team on his back here. Um, so yeah, and then we got some other strong performances. I think Broly with the 9 stock. That's
A
huge.
former Knight of Nana going through Justin BK Vox and then J Boss to get
Yeah,
9.
yeah,
Very, very strong contender. I That guy Sean, he's a good player. He's a good dude. I love to see him do well.
I do too. Sean is a Capital Region good friend of mine. So really happy to see this kind of performance. Um, And yeah, I guess this is kind of we're getting down to the wire here. You really gotta put up, you really gotta show up because this is at this point, week 13 is the last week. So you really got to clutch up here. Was really proud of our team, lights out. And I'm sure you're proud of your team as well.
Absolutely.
Clutching it
Also,
out here.
very, very impressed by Adamant again here. We were impressed with a 5, and here we see a full carry from Adamant from a last pick player taking 6 into Pig Whistle. Adamant as a lead going in against Logan, and then taking 2 off of Olive, who is no slouch into the mid tier matchups.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of interesting shakeups here. I think at this point, I believe Mountaintop had been eliminated from contention here, but was able to play a little bit of spoiler here. Made that division a little bit tougher by taking out B jump here. So yeah,
Likewise, I think at this point, following our match, Oops All Floaties did, I believe, eliminate Panthers here, with Jank and I anchoring and it ending in with the Shy Guy. I think with the Shy Guy assist.
nice. Yeah, so at this point, we got some teams being eliminated, but again, I mean, we got to week 11. I mean, that's pretty far, to start eliminating teams. So again, I think just to kind of summarize about how, you know, it seems like the draft went really well. Most of the teams are pretty balanced. So yeah, honestly, just shout outs to all the teams here. I mean, there's uh, throughout all these like 11 weeks, we saw teams that you wouldn't expect to beat certain teams. You know, they just happened throughout. So
And like
uh,
let's look at the scoreboards. We see 18-20, 17-20, 19-20, 18-20, 20-19. Every single match this week was within a 3 stock differential.
yeah,
Great week as far as competitive matches are concerned.
yeah. I mean, this kind of thing, you don't. I mean, you look at sports like let's just pick like the NFL, right? There's always some teams that are like 2-15 or whatever. They're just, they don't stand a chance. Um, and this is really cool to see, Um, I know it's maybe a little too soon. I mean, it still feels a little too soon for our team as well. But like, uh, you know, you really got to look at the big picture here. I mean, uh, I think every team really showed what they're capable of throughout the season and in multiple moments. So, um, again, something to just hang your hat on if you didn't make the playoffs. Something to build towards.
The real winners were the friends we made along the way, but like for real though.
Yes,
But
for
for real
actually
though.
for real. Actually for real.
Let's move on to week 12, as we're kind of hitting the penultimate week, and here's where we start to see some. There's a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yep.
Instantly, I'm drawing my eye to Legion of Loom versus Mountaintop, where I see 4 birds and a turtle, uh, and yet it still turns to an 18 versus 20 matchup.
That's wild. That's actually wild.
Ve-
Prime Boy with the Falco.
Yeah, yeah. Though we had Prime Boy on the Falco and Sibo, I believe, typically a Fox player. Both of them switching to Falco on the day, and then Ari Venus hitting us with the Koopa.
Yeah. And
We also see a basics 7 against the B jump bloopers here,
yes.
going through J Boss, all of Green Kirby, and finally losing to Blukey here.
Oh, Basics is saying this was a DQ maybe.
This was a DQ, a basic 7. Maybe it may be the score sheet this week. Looks like this one Blukey went through Killer Robo.
Yes. So I
Uh,
know I know I know B Jump won this match. For sure.
this was where Green Kirby DQ'd. Yeah, because of the lag test.
Yes, but I remember, yes, Green Kirby just ran off so that they could get their.
Right, but yeah, because this was meeting the appearance requirement. Green
Yes,
Kirby just rather than DQing, he just
yes,
played and SD'd 4 times.
yes. And I know Basics was a little bit upset with their draft spot. So cool to see the 7 stock here.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean we
know
take 7 all the same.
Yes, and I know you're trying to avoid your 15 stock here, but
Listen, man.
let's just listen. Hey, it was not our week. There was no amount of preparation we could have done. I think maybe you had a little vendetta from the week we played, and really wanted to put us in the doghouse.
For
So there was,
sure.
yes, there's
So I
no,
mean, I definitely had a chip on my shoulder uh, after my last bout with Spades. So the day before this, I played with Zach. We played a bunch of matches, um, and then yeah, I mean this matchup is one where a grab at 0 can lead to 70% off rip. against Pikachu, if not a kill. So I'm not going to say I got lucky, but that's just what comes with Ice Climbers. Sometimes you catch your opponent making a mistake, or you make a hard call out, and it works out. And if you get to do that a couple of times in the course of the match, you're going to take that to the bank. Low key Q taking 2 was something that I was getting a little worried about, because Q was actually kind of doing quite well into me. I just had a little bit too much material early on that I was able to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, and again, like, it's kind of one of those weeks where it just kind of, there's not really much we could have done. It just kind of, like you said, like getting those 4 grabs against spades, it kind of, don't want to say sealed the deal, but kind of a little bit. Um, and it was a tough decision. I mean, spades did really well against you the first match, so we kind of went into it thinking, hey, maybe this will work again. But we learned our lesson there. And it was fortunate because even though we lost, we actually needed 2 things to happen here for us to kind of seal our fate. We needed the Panthers to lose and Pig Whistle to lose, and that both of them happened. So it made it so that week 13, all we had to do was win. Basically, Pig Whistle, whoever won our match would get in.
Yeah,
So
starting on week 11 is when all of the possible timelines were starting to focus in to determine, like, there were a couple of locked teams, Oops All Floaties, Legion of Loom, and then there was this scrum for the 2 and 3 slot on in each division. B Jump Bloopers looking like a strong contender, but there's possibility for things to get out of hand. And then, yeah, as we move forward here, all of the all of the kind of perfect things start to settle into place. At the end of week 12, there's this possibility of a 3-way tie in the mat division.
yep.
And let's take a look at week 13 as we close out the mainline season here. Uh, we first off, I'm gonna draw attention to, besides Panthers versus the Mountaintop here. This was 2 teams that were fully dead for contention by the end of the week, but we're still shooting strong, enjoyable matches nonetheless. We see Rec. Actually, I believe this was Flinchy's Marth taking 11, and KK Swagnet taking 9. This was one to watch for sure if you were able to. We see the big link from Basics, the Mentalist. I'm not sure who the Mentalist was.
Who knows?
It's a mystery. It's a mystery. Oh, it's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. We don't need to know.
Yeah, it is all right. We'll make it through. I don't need the answer for this one.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at the rest of the matches. Hey, we see Cats versus Legion of Loom. We see a 12.
Yes.
We see a 12 from Lumor.
I think this was a statement because there had been a lot of talk about Lumor's team, and I think Lumor, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think probably his perspective going in was like, hey, we don't care about what anyone else thinks. I'm just gonna destroy everyone, and that's what happened.
And there's some interesting, I guess, game theory here if you're on Legion of Loom's side, because you get to influence a little bit the possibilities of what the playoffs are going to look like. So if, for example, you're Legion of Loom and you think cats are a dog, you could just throw, right? You could throw and then hope to see them make the playoffs. But here, this is Legion of Loom saying, no, we think cats are a good team. We don't want to risk it, so they're going to give it their all.
Yeah.
And here we see Lucas taking 12.
Yeah.
Definitely a statement, as you say.
Yeah. And I'm glad they didn't do the throw strategy because I actually think this is just me personally, but obviously definitely anti-competitive, but
Mm.
also I feel like it sends a bad message to your team, like because if you're trying to win a championship, like, do you, at the end of the day, do you care who you play? Because you have to beat everyone. So I like the statement here. So props to Legion of Loom, and unfortunately, this ended the cat season. Again, started super strong. Unfortunately, the momentum really shifted on the back half of the season. Um,
Looking
but
at the other matches as well, aside from, so B Jump Bloopers versus Oops All Floaties, that one had no true impact on the standings for the Roxy division. But it was still a fun match nonetheless. We see 7 from Eduporp and myself, but we see Eduporp maybe taking a little bit of pressure off, having some fun playing the Fox, and
yeah,
all the Kusa maniacs get a little bit of joy seeing a 6, seeing a nice carry.
yeah, and I think maybe it would have affected seeding a little bit if B Jump won. I don't really know actually. I think maybe they still have
I
the second
believe they're
seed.
always locked. They're always locked for 2, and we're always locked for 1, or at the very least, they're locked for playoffs.
Yeah, but you know what?
Um,
We played for pride, so hey,
that's
that's what
right.
we do.
And now let's look at the two big matches on this docket here. Lights Out versus Pig Whistle and Stallions versus Flow State, uh, which we're going to be dictating what is going to be happening going into the playoffs. So Stallions versus Flow State. Uh, this was part of the crazy 3-way tie, right? Where uh, Flow State needed to win. I believe they needed to win by 2 plus. If they won by exactly 2, then they get locked in the 3-way tie, in which Flow State and Stallions both make it out and Cats don't. Just on head-to-head tiebreakers. And so, like, this is just like the kind of intergalactic soup nonsense, that like all of these timelines are converging and reaching this like kind of crazy conclusion that it's amazing that this ended up as the final week. I mean, I
Yes.
gotta say, uh, and we see 7 from Geo, Conceit taking 4, Succulent, old Eddie Rochester taking 6 as well.
Yeah. And I just want to shout out Flower City Flow State. Going through this whole thing, I don't recall a match where they lost more than two stocks. I mean, maybe they did and we just didn't capture it, but they were always like super competitive in pretty much every match, and that probably showed in the stock differential at the end.
A
Uh,
lot of strong players and a lot of improvement. We saw Adam go from being a final pick in the draft to taking 5 and 6 across 2 weeks. We saw Conceit clutch up against April in week 12. Uh, like honestly, to clinch Flow State making it out in the end. Uh, like really good stuff from Geo, um, being able to kind of captain this team, and also to everybody else on Flow State. They so many of them are from Rochester that they really did kind of feel like kind of the hometown heroes a lot of the time. They had the ice cream social after a TPG.
yeah.
But now let's look at the headliner for this week, which I think was Lights Out versus Pig Whistle, which was a win and in. Both of you were on the bubble here. So if you lose, you're out. So what are your thoughts as a captain and as a player going into a win and in like this?
Yeah, so we kind of did everything that uh, we we practiced everything that we learned throughout the season going into this match. We prepped really hard. We planned out a strategy for the matchups we wanted to play. Um, and at the end of the day, the way it turned out, we ended up losing by two stocks. But I think it was still very competitive. We got off to a rough start, and at the end we only ended up losing by two stocks. And it was definitely a heartbreaker for sure. Um, you know, uh, it feels tough when you know that you have to win. But it also feels kind of cool that your your fate is in your own hands.
Sure.
But I do want to just shout out my whole team. Like, you know, even though we weren't able to take it here, again, just like so much growth from everyone here. Like everyone in this lineup here, um, we did VOD reviews throughout the season, and I can tell you personally, everyone improved greatly. Again, shout outs to TM, put in so much work, and I think it showed in the match he played. Um, got off to a rough start and then was able to take three unanswered stocks, just grinding it out and kept us in a spot to be able to take it in the end. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, it just again tough match. I told Cowbell after the match, uh, if I had, if we had to lose to any team, uh, I'm glad it was Cowbell's team. So, um, you know, um,
'Cause how can you be mad about losing to a couple of friends like that?
yeah,
And honestly, I was kind of sitting at the edge of my seat throughout that entire crew battle. Honestly, especially into the finisher, Cody, you versus Zach, where I think you know, you were down two stocks, but you being such a more experienced player and Zach being kind of a newcomer to especially upstate melee, uh, and not having as much of an opportunity to play in a high pressure situation like that, you could see that Zach was beginning to, I think, feel the nerves. Whereas I think you were kind of stealing yourself a little bit more, but Zach was able to hold it down just enough to close it and unfortunately eliminate Lights Out and for
yeah.
Pig Whistle to move on to our playoffs. Any closing thoughts about the season as a whole, Cody?
Um, Yeah, so in terms of just like the teams themselves, you know, we have some standouts here. Obviously, at the end of the season, the top two teams, Legion of Loom and Oops All Floaties. Um, but I really am looking forward to seeing how these playoffs shake out. I feel like uh, things may not play out as they seem. Like I said, the teams are really very balanced. So I think every team's just going to have to go in and not be able to rest on their laurels. Um,
Definitely, everybody's got to, like, no matter what, everybody has the possibility to lose into the playoffs. So we've all got to bring our A game to the best we can.
yeah, and
So should
I
let's
do
go ahead.
I do want to say also just in terms of recapping the whole season. Um, I know maybe a little bit personal, and I don't want to make this about myself, but um, I don't know if other people feel this way, but uh, I think the Upstate Cruise League is really special because everyone's homies with each other. And I played a lot of sports growing up, and the environments were not always the greatest. Like a lot of bullying, a lot of tough situations. But when I played in UCL season one, it was just like this is the coolest thing ever. Everyone loves each other, and you know going into season two, I couldn't believe, but it even got even better. I was able to be a captain. I was able to kind of lead a team and create a more wholesome environment. So, just wanted to say, if anyone else feels similarly, I think this is like a really important thing, and um, you know, I'm glad we're able to do it. So
The unifier of upstate in a post COVID world. I think it's been a magical experience. Bringing
yeah,
us all together, like you said, making sure like everybody kind of knows each other now in upstate. There's not a lot of full on hidden quantities as far as except for like brand new players. We're all getting to know each other. We're all playing each other. UCL kind of being this open forum for upstate to interact with each other has been awesome. And I
yeah.
think we got one of the best scenes in the game.
Yeah.
And I think UCL is one of the ways to show that.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to the playoffs, but I just want to say one last lights out.
Lights out. Lights out. Oath up.
All right, so we're into the playoffs.
Yeah. So here we've got I believe we already do have a schedule. We have one of the matches scheduled. I believe B Jump Bloopers versus Flower City Flow State. I think we'll be seeing that 1 week from today. Monday at 8. Uh, and let's take a look here at the matchups. So we see Oops All Floaties and Legion of Loom holding down the semifinal slot. But in quarters, on the Legion of Loom side of bracket, we see the B Jump Bloopers into Flower City Flow State. So we've got some heavy hitters here, as we'll expect. Big names: Eduport, Blukey, J Boss against AGO, Ghost Chunks, Young Love. Yeah, those are. This is gonna be a very interesting match. I think I expect that we may see the Young Love bird into this matchup spread. But this is, I mean, the theory here is going to be very interesting as far as leads. There's a lot of pressure for Ghost Chunks, I think, with the risk of there being an Eduporp and or a maybe the possibility of a Young Love Falcon. Could have two tricky matchups there. Um, what do you expect to see in this matchup, Cody?
Yeah, so my gut is telling me this is going to be a very close match. Again, kind of like how we saw throughout the season. I think it's going to be one stock, two stock max differential. And I think your assessment is correct. I think, in terms of the matchup spread, it does seem to make sense for Young Love to go Falco here. I think this matchup is really going to hinge on, how does Geo and Eduport play out? Because obviously, Geo has the upper hand in terms of the matchup. But obviously, Eduport, we know what they're capable of. So I think that's what the match is going to hinge on. Um, so I'm excited to see, who's going to pull out on top. And we're gonna put a little heat on ourselves here because we're gonna make some predictions here actually. So don't hate us in the chat. Don't hate us. We're just trying to make some fun content. But you go first. You go first, Derek. Let me know who you think's going to take it.
It's tough. It's tough. But I do think I'm gonna put my money here on Team Rochester, Flower City, Flow State. Uh, I think it's gonna be. I'm very interested in seeing how Flower City, Flow State is going to be contending with the top 5 of the B Jump bloopers. I think Eduport is a big question mark considering they no longer live in upstate, right? So there's not a lot of information on head-to-heads from Eduport, and Eduport like getting multiple top 100 wins in the recent weeks. Eduport, I think, bar none, is the best player in the draft portion of across the entire league. But I think Flower City Flow State, I think they can do it. I think they can do it. I think Ghost Chunks is a very, very strong player. I think Young Love is a very strong player that also have not got a lot of data across a lot of the league. Ghost Chunks having only recently kind of picked the game back up with like focus, and with Young Love only I think pretty recently starting to get out of Capital Region, going to some bigger events.
Yeah. So do you think it's going to be kind of a close match, or-
Definitely, it's going to be a heater, and I don't really put anybody at fault for picking either of these teams. But I'm gonna place my flag down in Flower City Flow State land.
Okay. So you're taking 20 to 19?
I'm taking 20-19, definitely.
Okay.
I would take the under if I could. I think if it could possibly be closer.
Yeah. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but that's what I'm going to pick as well. Um, a little bit of bias here. Gio's my captain from season one.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little faith in there. So, but it would not surprise me either way. I think it's going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to be a last stock situation. So, but if I had to make my bet, that's what I'm going to take.
That hit me with ones for B jump bloopers, twos if you have Flower City Flow State. And now across bracket, we got another good one. Honestly, another really good rivalry. The Knowers talking about Cowbell versus DPD. Do you recall? Upstate championships, where DPD and Cowbell I think played 3 times over the course of that bracket. I think they played in the last chance qualifier bracket. I think twice, and then I believe they played again over in the actual final top bracket, and I went 2-1 in Cowbell's favor. So how do you think that this is going to fare with another approach to this rivalry here?
This is interesting. So, if we could just kind of read up the top three players. So, Stallions, we have what is it? DPD, uh,
JBH Max, Boba Canoosh,
Boba, and then
into Pig Whistles, Cowbell, Zach, Olive.
yes. So this is interesting because like matchup wise and kind of like what you said about Cowbell taking it versus DPD. This is I think a good draw for Pick Whistle. I mean, if they had to go up against a team, um, you know, one of these three other teams, I think this is a pretty good draw. Um, and also the factor of a really good Pikachu in playoffs is a big variable there that I don't think we've seen yet. So when push comes to shove, I'm interested to see like how that's going to turn out. Um, but yeah, my gut is telling me, Stallions are just a really solid team. I feel like, they have a really solid core. And, I kind of think they're kind of like a very solid and steady team. They're not like, going to be super flashy, but they're just going to take care of business. So, this is a tough one. You know, I think I think this could, it's weird. I'm gonna put my stake on Stallions here, but I actually think because of the solid matchup that Pig Whistle has here in terms of characters, I could actually see them winning by a large amount. If a couple of things go poorly for Stallions, but I think if the Stallions kind of play to how they have been and just kind of maintain that rock steady pace, I think they'll be able to take it.
So you anticipate either Stallions 18-19 to 20 or a Pig Whistle 15-20.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's interesting stuff. That's interesting stuff. But you're putting your odds on Stallions here.
Yes, if I were a betting person, I put it on Stallions, and I'm gonna say probably 20 to 18, 20 to 17. So
It's still a close match.
still close.
By my count, as long as all 10 players have lost to stock, I think that's a close match. If you're like 17, that's where it's still close. For me, as far as I'm concerned as well with this matchup, I mean, who do I want to see as the winner of this? I think that who I want to see and who I expect to win are two different answers. I think looking at the Pig Whistle roster, I see Lopo. That definitely brings me pause as an Ice Climbers degenerate. And also I see a Sheik and JBH Max, who I know has not had a lot of practice in the Ice Climbers matchup, is top 2 in Stallions. I would love to see Stallions win. I think that Oops All Floaties is going to have a field day into the Stallions, but I do expect Pig Whistle is going to take this one. Like you say, I think that there's a lot of possibility for strong advantage coming from Team Pig Whistle, and it's just a matter of if they're able to leverage that counter pick advantage then they can really get some strong momentum moving forward into that match. And all they need is one person to get a carry in the early to mid game, and then they can just ride it out. And once your opponent's on the back foot and cruise, then you get so much advantage with your counter picks and where you're able to place them.
Yep.
One's
Okay.
in chat for Stallions, two for Pig Whistle.
Yeah, so we have a little disagreement here, but I think that just means maybe it's gonna be a lot closer than we expect. Um, so excited to see this one for sure. Um,
And
but
there's
yeah,
also there's a lot of question marks here, right? Over who wins and then who would possibly be playing Legion of Loom and Oops All Floaties.
yeah.
Um, but who do you expect, Cody, to see in grand finals?
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. So, so it's hard to predict because we can't predict the next match. But what we could do is kind of predict, grand finals and who's gonna take it. Um, I actually think for my money's worth, I'm gonna stick with the top seeds here. I'm gonna say Oaf versus Loom Up, and that's what I think we're gonna see in grands. Um, I think I think it's gonna come down to the two captains. Who's gonna be able to carry their team to victory. Unfortunately, I do think it's going to come down to a last stock match, 4v4, um, and it's going to be exciting. Um, now, who I think is going to win? I don't know. I don't know if I want to say that because I'm on a
Wait a
podcast.
minute.
I'm on a podcast with the guy that. So I might plead the fifth on this one.
Surely you
Just
just don't want me to have a big head. Inflate my
true.
ego.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
also
yeah.
I also still want to do a third podcast. So maybe
Definitely.
I'll hold off on my
You know
opinion
what?
on
Yeah,
that.
we'll see. We'll see how salty
Yeah,
I get moving
yeah,
forward.
yeah.
Well, I can tell you who I think is going to win. As an unbiased player and captain in maybe the best crew that has been seen in UCL history. Um, if I'm speaking modestly, I think Oops All Floaties is going to take it hand over fist. And I hope that Legion of Loom, I hope that they can keep their chin up. Maybe they have a chance, and I hope that they don't lose all hope as they play any of the matches. I do think there is a possibility for anybody in the lower bracket to make it to grands. I think B Jump Bloopers, Flower City Flow State, or Legion of Loom could take it. I think Legion of Loom is favored, but like we said, going over the course of the season, Flower City Flow State definitely kind of held their own against the Legion of Loom. So they've got real possibilities. And all that I'm gonna say there is if I have to play against Geo in grand finals as a four stock v four stock anchor, I may lose it on camera.
In Minecraft.
Yeah, in Minecraft. I mean, in Minecraft, I may take my own life. I may starve myself and see what happens. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see
But
what happens when we get there.
but if we okay, so we have our picks here. I'll just keep mine a secret. But if we're gonna pick a dark horse, in this bracket to take it all, who are we gonna take?
Dark horse. I'm picking the Flower City Flow State. You may say that there was a horse involved in the Stallions. I think that Flower City Flow State is the I think is kind of the clear third most powerful all rounder crew to my eye in the league. So I think that they definitely have a good chance to take it all.
Yeah. And just so I don't pick the same team, I'm just gonna say, the Stallions. Hey, we're talking about a dark horse. Why don't I just pick the Stallions? I think they've kind of been low key throughout the whole season. I think they're better than they've let on, and I think you might see a little surprise here in this bracket. So I'm gonna say Stallions in 5 for the dark horse.
Stallions in 5. One thing that's for sure as we look forward to this playoff bracket, I don't really anticipate many blowouts. I think that every match that we're about to see is going to be powerful, is going to be uh close. We're gonna see top fives and sixes into each other, and we don't see that in every week. You know, we see a lot of sevens, eights, uh, and I think that those still may yet be here. But I think we're going to see a lot of strong players who are in good form, who know what to expect, duking it out, and I'm excited to see it happen.
Yes. And yeah, I'm really excited. And kind of to piggyback off of, I know you were a captain last year and made the playoffs. This is Gio's first time making the playoffs. So as a captain, so I know he's gonna want to come out playing lights out. So, uh,
I
but
think is every crew here aside from mine a first time playoff? Because I think Lucas is a newcomer as far as captains are concerned. Lucas is a newcomer. Cowbell is DPD, uh, and Blukey,
yep,
and then yeah, and then Geo didn't make it the last season. So I think this is everybody aside from the Oafs. Uh, this is a first time playoff for that roster and captain.
yep. So your team has, at least you as a captain, you have kind of that advantage there, having experienced the playoffs once before. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you have any sort of last perspective there on being the lone captain with experience,
I mean, really, I
happy
think
to hear.
we've got the experience, and I think that we are going to strive to be the most annoying crew that you could possibly face going into any of these matches. So I hope you got your textbooks ready because it's not going to be an open book test.
Okay, all right. So there you have it. We have Swebby here predicting the Oath finale, and I'm gonna say loom up in 5.
There's no way. There's no way.
I'm just doing that. I'm just doing that for the content. I believe in my podcast, buddy. Uh, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Um, Again, I think this is going to be a really great uh, into the season. This is going to be fun. I remember last year we had some banger playoff matches, so I expect nothing different this time. Um, and if you have any last thoughts in the chat, you want to make any shout outs to your team, uh,
And
just let
big
us know.
ups to all crews here, even those who didn't make playoffs, all the captains. I have heard pretty much nothing but accolades from the crews. I think everybody's had a great time. So shout outs to all the coaches and captains who've been keeping each other honest and keeping it fun. Shout outs to all the players who signed up, all the coaches who pulled up despite either not being from the region or just offering some advice in matchups and general knowledge. There's a lot of great stuff in UCL. There's stuff for everybody across all skill levels, and we're gonna watch it really kind of come to a head here in the next over the next 3 weeks. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
And thank you
and
all for tuning in as well. Cody, what do you got to say?
yeah, just a last thought. As a captain that wasn't able to make it this time, all I ask of the remaining participants is to play lights out. I know this is a very sort of niche thing. We're not playing for any sort of huge prize or whatever, but it's important to all of us. So all I ask is that you show up and play to the best of your ability, but believe in yourself, and there's going to be some really good matches going on.
Absolutely. And I've been Swebby, joined by Codeman, and we're gonna be signing off. Thank you everybody for watching
Thank you. Best
and
of
for
luck, all
playing.
players.
Lights out.
Lights out.